Every year, millions of people walk into a luxury car dealership and walk out feeling like they've finally made it. A Mercedes in the driveway, a BMW at the office, an Audi parked where everyone can see it. And for a few months, maybe even a few years, it feels exactly like they imagined it would. But here's what nobody warns you about. The moment you drive that car off the lot, something quietly begins, something the dealership knew about before you signed a single document. And by the time most people figure it out, it's already too late. Luxury car ownership costs the average American between $40,000 and $60,000 more over a 5-year period than driving a reliable non-luxury vehicle. Not in sticker price, not in down payment, but in the hidden ongoing costs that nobody puts in the brochure. Hey, this is Mark, and you're welcome to Autosays. If that number already surprised you, stay with me. Hit subscribe so you don't miss where this goes, because we're just getting started. The psychology here is worth understanding before we get to the money, because the two things are inseparable. The luxury car industry doesn't sell transportation. It hasn't sold transportation in decades. What it sells is identity. What it sells is the feeling that you have arrived, that people around you can see it, that you can see it in the rearview mirror every time you park. And that feeling is deliberately engineered to be more powerful than any financial calculation you could run. In the 1980s and 1990s, luxury car marketing underwent a fundamental shift. Brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Lexus, which had just entered the American market, realized that they weren't competing with other car companies. They were competing with each other for a very specific psychological territory, the feeling of success. BMW's Ultimate Driving Machine campaign wasn't about horsepower or handling, it was about who you were when you sat behind the wheel. Mercedes didn't sell safety features, it sold arrival, the idea that a person who drove a Mercedes was someone. And once that idea took root in American culture, it never left. But here's where it gets strange. The people who built these campaigns knew something that their buyers didn't. The psychology of luxury ownership is deliberately designed to be temporary. The thrill, the status, the feeling of having arrived, it fades. Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation. You get used to it. The car that felt extraordinary in month 1 feels ordinary by month 8. And the industry knew this because their repeat buyer data told them exactly how long the feeling lasted before customers started looking for the next upgrade. So they built their entire business model around that window. The average luxury car owner replaces their vehicle every 3 to 4 years, not because the car stopped working, not because it became unsafe, but because the feeling stopped working. And the industry times its model refreshes, its redesigns, and its marketing campaigns to land precisely when that window opens. This is not a coincidence, it's a cycle, and most people don't realize they're in it until they've gone through it 2 or 3 times and looked up to find that their net worth hasn't moved. Now, the financial mechanics of all this deserve a close look because the numbers tell a story that's almost impossible to believe until you see them laid out. Take a mid-level luxury sedan, say a BMW 5 Series or a Mercedes E-Class. A well-equipped version runs somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 today. The depreciation on that vehicle in the first year alone can be $12,000 to $15,000. By year 3, you've often lost 30 to 40% of the purchase price, regardless of how carefully you've maintained it. Luxury vehicles depreciate faster than non-luxury vehicles as a general rule because the pool of buyers for a 3-year-old $60,000 car is much smaller than the pool of buyers for a 3-year-old $30,000 car. Supply goes down, demand goes down faster, value evaporates. And that's before we talk about the cost of keeping one on the road. Maintenance costs for luxury vehicles run on average 2 to 3 times higher than mainstream brands. A routine service visit to a BMW or Mercedes dealership, the kind of appointment that costs $150 for a Toyota, routinely runs $400 to $600. The tires are more expensive, the insurance premiums are higher, the registration fees in most states are calculated on vehicle value, which means a $60,000 car costs significantly more to register than a $30,000 car. And if anything goes wrong outside of warranty, and with modern luxury vehicles, which are loaded with electronics and sensors and driver assistance systems, something always goes wrong. The repair bills are staggering. There's a number that auto finance specialists use to describe the true cost of luxury car ownership beyond the monthly payment. They call it the total cost of operation. And when you factor in depreciation, maintenance, insurance, registration, fuel, because most luxury vehicles require premium, and financing interest, the total cost of operating a $60,000 luxury vehicle for 5 years often exceeds $110,000 for a car that at the end of those 5 years might be worth $15,000. But here's the part that almost nobody talks about: the opportunity cost. The difference in total cost between driving a luxury vehicle and a reliable non-luxury vehicle, conservatively $40,000 over 5 years, that's $8,000 a year that isn't being saved, invested, or used to build anything. Over 20 years, the span of a typical career climb, the years when most financial foundations are either built or permanently delayed, that differential, invested in a basic index fund at historical market returns, doesn't just stay $40,000. It grows significantly. The people who understand this tend to drive surprisingly modest cars, and the people who don't understand it tend to have impressive driveways and surprisingly thin financial statements. There's a reason that multiple studies of high net worth individuals consistently find that the majority of first-generation wealthy people in the United States drive non-luxury vehicles, not because they can't afford the luxury car, because they did the math before they bought the feeling, and the feeling lost. Now, none of this means luxury cars are inherently irrational. There are people for whom the calculation is different, people who genuinely use their vehicle as a business tool, where the impression it creates has a measurable return. There are collectors for whom certain models are appreciating assets rather than depreciating liabilities. And there is, let's be honest, a genuine engineering difference between a driving experience of a finely built German sports sedan and a standard commuter vehicle. Nobody's pretending that experience doesn't exist. But for the vast majority of people who lease or finance a luxury vehicle on a salary that makes the payment a stretch, for the millions of people who are in a very real sense renting the feeling of wealth while the actual financial distance between them and stability quietly grows, the luxury car is doing something very specific. It is providing the appearance of arrival without the reality of it. It is allowing a person to feel financially successful while making a financially costly decision. And the industry is very good at making that feel like a reasonable trade. Think about how luxury car dealerships are designed. The lighting, the coffee, the way the salesperson treats you the moment you walk through the door, not like a customer, but like someone whose time is valuable, whose judgment is trusted, whose financial decisions are obviously sound. That experience is engineered. Every element of it has been tested and refined over decades to make you feel, in that building, that you are exactly the kind of person who belongs in the car they're about to show you. The feeling of wealth they create inside that dealership is a preview of the feeling they're selling, and it works. It works because we are, at a fundamental level, social creatures who calibrate our sense of success in relation to what other people can see. The corner office, the watch, the car, these are signals, and signals carry costs. The question that the luxury car industry has spent billions of dollars making sure you never stop and ask is a simple one. What is the signal actually costing you, and what are you getting in return? Here's what it comes down to. The luxury car doesn't make you rich, it makes you look rich. And for most people who buy one on a payment plan, the gap between looking rich and being rich doesn't close over time. It widens, because the car is depreciating while the payment continues, and the opportunity cost accumulates quietly in the background, invisible and unacknowledged, until one day the math becomes undeniable.
The car in the driveway told everyone you'd arrived. The account balance told a different story. Real financial security doesn't come from how your car makes you feel. It comes from what you do with the money you didn't spend on it. That's not a comfortable message, but it's the one the dealership was never going to give you. So here's what I want to know from you, and I want a real answer, not a polite one. If you own or have owned a luxury vehicle, was the financial hit actually worth what it gave you? Or looking back, would you have done it differently? Leave that in the comments. The conversation down there is always more honest than the one in the showroom. And in the next video, we're going to look at the car brand that spent 50 years convincing the world it was a luxury icon, and the internal documents that show the executives knew the product didn't deserve that reputation. That one might make you angry. We'll see you there.